the female, the feminine psyche. Let's now deconstruct the most touchy subject of all, the most prevalent, not because it's intricate or complex, but because it holds such an intimate part in our mindset, in our psychology, and it's such a dominant part of our Western culture. It's promoted as the ideal, as the epitome of what it means to be civil and civilized, and for obvious reasons. The feminine is more docile, more tolerant, more undiscriminating, which means more unconscious, and therefore it's more malleable, more controllable. It can be directed, it can be manipulated, it can be integrated, it can be seduced. Now, from a metaphysical standpoint, the feminine represents nature. In other words, it represents the status quo. If we take nature as being the slow decay towards fragmentation, or towards growing entropy, towards the absolute form would be absolute void or emptiness, as the Buddhists call it, then nature, or the female as its representation, represents what happens without effort, what happens normally and naturally. And now this goes against the political views, which sort of turns everything on its head. And in fact, progressiveness and liberalism, which accepts this fragmentation towards a complete void, a total erasing of nature, of the past, is held to be progressive, when in fact it's conservative, in that it conserves the status quo, which is entropic decay, or increasing entropy. And in fact it is the opposite direction, the masculine, which strives towards order. Whether you call this totalitarianism, authoritarianism, paternalism, or whatever, it is an imposition of order which goes antithetical to the norm. Therefore it is progressive, it's rebellious. In modern Western cultures, this has been turned on its head, just like everything else. It reminds us of Orwell's positions on newspeak, or wordspeak, where war is peace and slavery is freedom, which is exactly what we're living today. Even today, where it's May, it's the International Day of the Worker, and they're protesting for their right, I'm quoting here, their right to work. That means their right to be slaves, because now at work, the work ethic has become a universal principle of the emasculated man, the slave man. So everything has been turned on its head. Up is down, male is female, female is male, war is peace, slavery is freedom, freedom is slavery, hate is love, love is hate. In fact, this is perfectly represented by the Judaic symbol of David's cross, the pyramid representing the Egyptian hierarchy, where the pinnacle is held by the God King, and the answer to it, the Judaic answer to it, which is the inverse pyramid, where man holds the depth, as it will, and God is the expansion of the infinite above, the authority of nothingness. And this is what ideal permeates our civilization today, our Western civilization, which has been infected by this Eastern infection, and our European paganism has turned into an Eastern slavishness. So everything has been turned on its head. Everything is the opposite of what it was originally. And we don't notice because once you're raised with certain symbols representing certain ideas, you can't think outside their premises. They're ingrained in you. This is a form of mental manipulation or brainwashing, if you will. So if we use binary logic, 0 and 1, good and evil, then in our way of thinking, in our way of conceptualizing, the male extreme, the male nihilistic projection of the absolute is represented by God, whereas the female, the feminine projection of the absolute is represented by the absolute void, emptiness, nothingness. And this is indicative in the psychologies involved. This is why for males, absolute or anarchy is attractive. It's a seductive notion because it designates the absence of order, where they can impose their own order. And this is like the dream state for a male, a state where there is no order, where they can state their ground and be the dominant male. For the female, the opposite is true. They are attracted to absolute order because it's the opposite of what they are. They're seduced and attracted to anything that promises order. That's why they're attracted to the male. And earlier I said that's why, because males are attracted to disorder or chaos, they're attracted to the female. It's fertile ground for them to seed, so to speak, virtually and literally. And for the female, the absolute order is the most attractive element in nature. They cannot resist it. An indication of order or power, as it is called, as in Nietzsche's will to power, power being the extreme projection of omnipotence. Women find there a place to belong, to immerse themselves, to be one with. This is what the female psychology is. It's the desire to belong, not to be, but to belong to. And for the male, it's the opposite. It's to be, to impose upon, to dominate. Where there's no order, to impose order, to create order. That's why the male is the more creative of the two. From a genetic standpoint, this is expressed in the male's desire to impose its will upon a group or upon another, to be in control of it, to dominate over it. And this, of course, creates the scientific and the philosophical drive. This desire to impose one's will upon nature, which is the female, by understanding it first. The female, on the other hand, wants to submit. It is attracted to anything that promises to be more powerful than itself. It wants to belong. This is why also it submits to the normal state, because it's the most powerful of all processes. It is the slow decay towards absolute disorder, which of course is never reached, but that's another aspect of what we're dealing with. This is why the female is the quickest to adapt to any authority, to defend it, to follow its principles. They follow fashions. They follow political trends. They're at the forefront of political trends because they easily and readily adapt to anything new which promises to be more powerful than what was. Because what was is always imperfect, because nothing is perfect, because there is no absolute. Therefore, in their infinite search for the absolute, they're always disappointed and disillusioned. The male has to sell them a notion of the absolute, seduce them to it, if you will, trick them, so they can achieve their ends. The male knows that there is no absolute. The female has no clue. She still believes that there is an absolute. She calls it God, whatever. That's why women are always the most religious, the most reliant on God, the most readily assimilated within any systemic order. They just accept anything that promises a belonging, a sense of peace and order, where they can facilitate their procreative role. The only way a female would be seduced away from this, other than particular circumstances, is if another entity, another order, another masculine entity promises them a higher form of order. They're always attracted to what is higher, to what is more ordered, to what is more powerful. Not to be it, but to belong to it. They want to submit to it. They want to be assimilated by it. They want to immerse themselves in it and disappear within it. They want to be the means to an end for it. And of course, for men, women are always means to an end. That's the only reason women have any value at all. For a man, a woman has no other value. Nothing she says, nothing she does matters to him, except that it's her vagina, her uterus, her ovum, the destiny this promises of the male, the overcoming of mortality this promises for a male. That's it. And if you notice in the sciences or in philosophy or in any human discipline in the arts, women never revolutionize anything. They are contributors. They're supporters. They add to whatever is already given to them. They imitate it. They parrot it. They're good at that. But they never excel. They never stretch the boundaries. They never break what binds man. They never think outside the box. They're always within the limits given to them. And when women are given certain limits, like in modernity, where they're freed from paternalistic control, then they excel in that. If they're given limits, like in Islam, then they excel in that domain. It doesn't matter for them. They have no clue what is going on. They just want to make the best of it within whatever system they find. This is why females were easily assimilated resources. Males used to pillage other tribes and take females. They used to kill the males and take the females, and the females were easily assimilated in whatever tribe took them. And this is why in marriage the female is always the one that changes her name up to recently. She adapts, she accepts the bloodline she is taken by. And in ancient times, it was the female that changed her bloodline and became the facilitator of that bloodline's destiny. That is, the man took a woman from another bloodline and used her by integrating that bloodline's genetics for his own ends, by adding them to his own genes. This has always been the case up to recently. And recently the change has been that masculinity has been monopolized by the system itself, that is, by the institution. Maleness in any other regards is obsolete. It's no longer necessary because of technological advancements, which were the product of male-on-male competition. So men made themselves obsolete. Women just have no clue. They just follow, adapt, submit,